Peace, family. It's Sunday. Sunday. And I want to say it's the ninth. I don't have my watch nor my cell phone's over there charging right now. I'm about to start my day. But peace and blessings to you. I hope that you had you gotta bear with me, I'm multitasking. Uh, I hope that your weekend finds you well. You've been able, good morning. Yes, this is live. Uh, I really hope that your weekend was very tranquil. And what I mean by that is no matter what you had projected, tasks that you had to take care of, directly or indirectly, you still made time for you. You were able to allocate me time. Now, I know a lot of times when you hear that me time, I'm not saying me too, I'm saying you, we put ourselves back. We always inherently put others or the situation in front of our own needs. So yesterday, I put I think it was like 7 minute video out. I was literally getting ready to start my work day, and as I recorded from my phone, I looked through my windshield and I saw $1. Now, I didn't need that dollar. But I also saw that symbolically as no, that is proverbial, as you've heard the term, pennies from heaven, which means you are on task where you are. You're marking time. You're staying the course of your life. So as I did my work requirement, you got to bear with me, family, because you see me moving around. I'm actually putting on my boots because got to go to work in a few. Um, as you already know, I'm a strong proponent for promoting being aware of your surroundings, but it's also you can't be aware of your surroundings if if you're not transparent with yourself. So these actions they go hand in hand. And as I concluded my day, had no issues, and I got back in my ride, got back in the Jeep, and headed back home. Like a lot of you, when you're driving, you may use that as a proverbial vehicle to think as you more or less uh, decompartmentalize, you relax, you'll find yourself allowing any thoughts that you may have put to the side will come back to focus because it has to be analyzed. That is why, family, it is so important. There are 5 questions that you have to be honest with yourself if you want happiness. You may be saying, well, okay, what's that? Is my money straight? Do I feel safe? Am I feeling loved? Am I speaking my truth? Or am I losing my mind? Because look, let's be honest. We're living in an environment, family, where narcissism is celebrated and it's stirred up by unrest, borderline anarchy, and majority non accountability. It is like proverbially taking an action and trying to throw it up on a wall, hoping it will stick. So let me caveat that because I would be remiss not to mention this. Brilliant scientist Albert Einstein once coined the definition of insanity as more or less doing the same behavior, expecting a different outcome. I'll repeat it. Doing or performing the same behavior, expecting an outcome. That's insanity. Now, the real question should be asked is what led up to that conclusion? Why is there a loyalty to something, someone that won't validate or fulfill your emotional needs at the lowest level? That could be looked at as economic, that could be perceived as socially, or the big one, internally, emotionally, you. Because see, everything, fam, starts and will end with that beautiful person that's in the reflecting, in the flexion coming back. Take that back. Let's go a little deeper. If you don't see value in the person, the image, because you were made perfect, I don't understand how we've allowed ourselves to get on this emotional roller coaster to convince ourselves that we are less than. Now, I know there are other parameters out there, such as fear, denial, deflection, non accountability, or downright delusion. But if you're not good, how can anything that emanates or resonates from you be the same? Now, I know there are going to be some people that may see it as, well, Gerald, that kind of sounds like being conceited. No, what I'm saying is your self value will determine your outcome. One of the things that is agreed upon, everybody wants to feel validation. And when you peel that onion back, per se, the one thing that comes to the surface is being able to feel emotionally safe. But the contradiction in that is when we don't see our value, we tend to go sporadic. We tend to gravitate to what is temporary or tantalizing because it stimulates a need that has yet to be fulfilled. And all that does is serve as a linchpin or a doorway for what we don't. Now, I'm a firm believer. If your mind's not right, your body will react. So this goes back to them 5 questions. Number one, what does your happiness look like? What is that image that resonates in your heart, which really is your spirit, which all it does is cultivate your mind? What does happiness look like to you? What is needed? Because if you're able to answer that one question, you'll also be able maybe to answer, what do I need to do? What is the price? And when you are honest, or shall I say be transparent, because being transparent is nothing more than a definition of what intimacy looks like. How many of y'all crave intimacy? How many of y'all may be in a relationship with someone and the definition of intimacy is kind of confusing with physical? Is a part of it? Can be. But the greatest resource or yield of response is here. Come on, Queens. Am I tapping here? Am I reaching you there? How many times in your mind your scenario seemed okay, but intellectually you're saying in your mind, I need more? Or like, not to steal from hip hop legends, pioneers, Salt and Pepper, when they had put out the classic "What a Man," and Spinderella's verse, she was breaking it down, and what she said, that's not it. It's good, but you missed the mark. And this has no gender, because trust and believe. There are countless kings out there that are pretty much going with the motion because of what they see and not acknowledging what they lack. And maybe some of it is fear based. Well, if I speak my truth, will I lose my reality? Peace, peace, Lee. So let's go back to the 5 questions. What does your happiness look like? What will it cost? Before you can even grasp the concept of the cost or the sacrifice, you must be honest with yourself and ask, what do I need? Because if you're not able to answer that question, you ready for this? Everything that makes your environment will be the more or less the linchpin or the reaction of it. But guess what? And some of y'all not gonna like this, because a stark reality will come from it. Because now you have to answer or ask yourself, what is my purpose? If you don't understand the reason of your existence, you're not going to be able to see what your happiness looks like. And nor will the things that make your environment reciprocate what it looks like. Who am I talking to? But see, questions like that to some are deal breakers because it's too much truth. And the real question is why? Why can't I, bear with me because I'm lacing my shoes up. Why can't I have this conversation when it's something that you want to do? You have the energy and you speak it. Why? Because you see the benefit and the sacrifice for that response. Now, let's just say that's not a factor for you. You already identified you want to be happy. Because when you're happy, there's no fear there. It's like somebody say you are firing up all cylinders of your life. Everything is on point. But what if it's not? Because, family, we don't live like we're from a Lifetime Hallmark movie. We're not. That's not real. That's found in the pages, which 9 times out of 10 were unclaimed words from somebody else's heart put on paper because you can relate. That's what makes some songs classics or a movie or media classics. Why? Because it taps into your emotional being, makes you, it spawns the dialogue of conversation. How many times you've gone to a movie, enjoyed the movie, but you actually enjoyed the conversation that came from it? What about that? You realize how many people, or do you realize how different this world would be if people would just be willing to have a conversation? But see, people fear what they don't know. I ain't got to tell you that. You already know that. That is why there's so much discord in the last 5 years in the world. And here's the sad thing about it. And we overlook it, but somebody is making money off of your fears. And that is such a hypocrisy. But see, that's conversations that we should have, fam, right? Why don't we have it? And it's not about, let me. Why does it take somebody that has a, a, a major commercial platform for people to be, for people to finally take note? For example, anything that's worth of value will come from your heart, and you can't put a price on it. And you shouldn't look at trying to make money off of it. And that's not the point, because it's bittersweet, because yes, now people are slowly but surely, especially in the melanated community, are starting to say, hey, I always wondered why auntie acted like that, or why granddad was this way, or why grandma didn't reciprocate a certain connection with me. I was like the black, why? Because, fam, what was the social narrative going on? But what was going on with the individual within? Still to this day, 2019, people are afraid to be themselves. It's funny because I mentioned this some time ago. Hip hop legend, legendary group, but you see them every night if you watch late night. I'm talking about the Roots. They're the house band for Jimmy Fallon. Lead MC is Black Thought. They had they have a catalog of music that they have created, because they're musicians first. But not to stray from my point. But 15 years ago, they put out an album titled Clones. And they were pretty much, really, when you think about it, speaking about self identity by self worth, and how the trajectory of the social narrative was not becoming each one teach one. It was more or less becoming crabs on a barrel. 2019. Look at where we are now. People are afraid to claim themselves. If you don't act or sound a certain way or look a certain way, you get overlooked. But guess what? You realize how many diamonds get overlooked every day because it requires pressure to transform them into the sparkling item that it is. Same thing with your life. If you didn't allow yourself to grow, first, you could not grow if you did not identify what is required to change. Otherwise, you'd be still doing what you were doing 20 years ago. Who am I talking to? And unfortunately, there are going to be people that will take snapshots of the connections and the perceptions of people and their self-worth so that they can archive that. So that's why when you see somebody from a time called when, they're expecting you to be in that time, but that ain't the time. Why? Because no man knoweth the time, no moment they'll take their last breath. I ain't trying to sound stark. I'm trying to keep it 100. This is a dialogue and a discussion that if it has value to you, you should have. Because I'm going to tell you what, if you do, you know what's going to happen? You're going to save yourself a whole lot of stress. But the reality is, your truth, your clarity will be the only thing there. So, and then last one. Other than asking and identifying your purpose, you do understand the moment you decide to have that soul searching or heart to heart moment, that the moment where you go deep within yourself and you're comfortable. Because first of all, if you're not comfortable in your skin, telltale sign you can't even look in the mirror naked. Not trying to sound funny. You realize how many people feel that I love you, queens. You got to make yourself up to go to sleep. Why? Don't you know the most beautiful person or the most beautiful time of existence when it's organic? So that means when you got the crust in your eyes, when your breath smelling like you who, and when you're in tune with that little boy, that little girl, that's still that's still you. Did you forget? What about them dreams? What about your natural gifts and talents? What about them? Because until you decide to acknowledge those, how can you truly know what freedom is? So you can't pay for peace of mind, family. Don't you realize? And I'm not saying that from a condescending point of view, but look at everybody that is deemed socially successful. They have everything they want in man's view, but themselves. Even Biggie Smalls said, rest in peace, more money, more problems. But what if that's not your narrative? What if it's not? You still got you. So looking at the clock, because it's right here, right, it's right there. Maybe you've done all, seen all that was required for your reality, and maybe you're in a plateau uh, perspective. And you may be wondering, well, why do I feel stagnant? Because it's up to you to open the door to your life, because it's on the other side. I mentioned that um, earlier this week about dealing with disappointment. Until you decide to deal with disappointment, you're only going to invite denial, delay, delusion, and that energy that it attracts. That's why the people that don't have your best interest will never tell you the truth. Why? Because they're not applying it to themselves. And I would love to know how you feel down below. Because I believe if you're not living your best life, it's because you ain't happy. You can't be happy if you're allowing things to distract you from your happiness, no matter how it manifests. But anything that manifests starts here, validated here, and then driven here, your feet. I'm just saying, because the ones that will not put the work in will give you nothing but excuses and will rob you of your time. And guess what? They don't want you to change either. They don't want you to change, because if you change, that means at some point you had to take accountability for what was your reality, what was going on, what was a need compared to a want. If it doesn't help you grow, how far do you expect to go? Do you understand what I'm trying to say? Come on. I want to say this right now, and because I want to record this, I really believe 2020 is going to be a big year for me, and it's going to be a major, major overhaul. I've already claimed the fact that Eventually, I will have my 1,000 subscribers, and I'll be able to take you where I go. I expect to do a lot, and I'm just preparing for it. And I hope I can show it to you. But it's not about viewership because these videos, as you already know, it's for the intended heart at the intended mind at the intended time. The person that might need to see this may see this 6 years from now, 6 days from now, 6 months from now, in the intended time. But here's another blessing too. Not to sound stark, as long as there is an internet, my voice will live forever. My ancestors will see it, and they will also know that even though maybe I never got to touch, smell, embrace, love was here all along, and there's a responsibility to carry on the legacy as well. Because see, that was what was placed in your first breath from your ancestors. So before I bring this to a close, because this is right on my spirit right now, let me ask you this. As I echoed, what does happiness look like? How can you truly answer those questions if you don't even know who you are? God's praying for you. You know I am. I see your worth. And for that, it helps me discern mine. Don't let this day come and go without you reflecting. Because if you don't reflect, you're not preparing for what's to come. And you're worth it. Be blessed.